Now we are here in Kiev, IDEALIST.media studio, and we are supposed to wrap up this experiment week. We have been working together with EdCamp and the Through the Loop school staff and students. But I guess our audience there would like to know something about who are we and where do we come from, and what is something, why we are here.
Okay, I guess that people don't always see the country up in the north existing at all because it's such a small country. There are only 5.5 million people, and well, what do we have there? We have snow, we have short summers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So what to tell about people? What do we then have? We gotta have something besides those things.
Yeah. I know something that we have that I guess many people know in the world, Nokia.
Mm-hmm.
The Nokia cell phones, they came from Finland.
I guess they also know IT companies such as Rovio, Angry Birds.
You mean Angry Birds?
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah.
And maybe Supercell, Clash of Clans.
Oh, yes. So you mean those IT companies, yeah. I remember that we have also quite good shipbuilding industry. We are building those huge world-class day cruisers to the Caribbean seas.
Oh yeah, that's correct.
And
That's
we
right.
make the biggest icebreakers in the world.
Mm-hmm. What about the one forest machine company, which is...
The small private, yeah, Ponsse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's Ponsse.
And it's conquering the North European market in forestry machinery.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the biggest paper machines in the world being built by Valmet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had those deep sea submarines that were taking pictures of Titanic.
Right, that I didn't remember.
So I think we have some industries, some fields of industry that are very specialized, and they are all very high-tech industries. Do you remember, do we have any successful scientists or that kind of personnel?
Yes, I remember the one Nobel. No, he was economist.
I think we have 4 or 5 Nobel Prize winners in physics, in economy,
Literature.
chemistry, and peace.
Oh yes, our former president, Mr. Martti Ahtisaari.
Yeah, I think we have some that type of personnel too who are very famous for those. We have Santa Claus too. He lives in northern Finland in Lapland.
That's very true.
I think many people know Father Christmas anyways. Very often we try to make very good things, and that is a purpose, but in the end it turns out to be brilliant, even though we try to make only good.
And one excellent example of those kind of innovations or things just what happened without a vision to be on the top of the world.
It's our education. It has been now over 20 years one of the world's best education systems.
What if we need to tell a little bit of our education system? What are the cornerstones in our education? What do we promote?
Equality.
Encouragement.
Child-centered.
Individual support.
Aren't those good things?
They are good things, and they are definitely something we should be promoting.
And sharing.
And sharing.
We also have a system where there are no dead ends in education.
By meaning that after finishing your comprehensive school, you can apply, for example, high school or
vocational
education. But what about if you want to enter some higher education from vocational education? Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. But also the vice versa. You can go from universities to vocational school, but well, that doesn't happen often, but it is possible though. So there is possibility for selection also available. I think our education has been quite a success for the reason that we have never thought that we should build a successful system. We just have talented teachers who have been building a very good system that functions and works really well.
And wasn't it so that when the first PISA results were released early 2000, the teachers and the politicians, they were actually surprised of the results?
That's how it was. No one even knew that there was such a thing as PISA. And once the results were released, wow, it was a surprise for us. But hey, we've been hanging over there for quite a long time now, and we are happy that we have been doing good work.
Exactly. And I think that's why we are also here. Why we have been in Trudeloop School with Ed Camp this past week.
And what a fantastic week we have had.
We absolutely had. The committed staff who already, they were eager to understand quality education, even better they understood before.
And the talented teachers who were interested on everything they were doing and how deeply they got into the topics we were talking about with them.
And not speaking about the students who were brilliant.
They were enjoying learning by doing with us.
Should we open up a little bit the process, the learning? How did we design it, and what was the project all about?
Should we start about co-teaching?
I think so.
Yeah. Remember when we first started co-teaching, it took us a long conversation about what we are and where we are good at, what are our strengths.
And what are the challenges? And what are maybe the weaknesses we are not really good at?
What I feel uncomfortable with.
Exactly.
It was quite a big opening of what's inside of us, and it was a little bit nervous moment. I remember it was kind of opening your soul to other and revealing everything out. But what do you think? Was it worth it?
It was definitely worth it. And the more we discussed about how do we design the teaching and how do we see the learning, I think the more we gained trust towards each other.
And self-confidence.
Absolutely.
I remember the first time we implemented co-teaching, it took us quite a long time to plan. And I remember we took 2 or 3 subjects that we wanted to combine at first. We didn't take too many subjects, remember?
No, we didn't. We thought that it's better to start with small steps.
Yeah.
I remember at the very beginning, I had a challenge. My challenge was that I thought that I have a really good idea how we should teach the topic, or what kind of activities and experience we should offer to our students. And not always you said that, well, yes, let's do this. And I think we improved, and I improved myself, understanding that, well, I need to listen more about your ideas and give space, and then we can create something new and something extraordinary together.
We had long discussions about what we do, like sharing. I was strong, for example, in science. You were strong in arts and music. I was strong in English.
Yes.
And that kind of sharing helped us to design how we plan everything, who's taking charge more in which subject, and that way we both knew now at least 4 topics or subjects were there that we were very easily able to combine together when needed.
Do you remember the yellow notebook? We marked our notes when we were planning and brainstorming.
Yes, I do.
And do you remember the thick book, curriculum?
Yes, the also one, yes.
Which defined the objectives we needed to follow and fulfill.
But it was an important book because everything must come out from curriculum, because it's defining all the topics, everything that is needed in implementing anything. So when you create the themes for co-teaching, you have to know what's in curriculum.
And but we brought something to the process which the curriculum doesn't necessarily say, in a sense of how the subjects should be touched, should be integrated to the child's own world. But the Finnish curriculum says it so, but we understood that not all of the curriculum stands for that ideology.
Yeah, we try to implement the subjects to the real world. Remember? In math, for example, we started to calculate things like how much does this and that cost when you go shopping, how much does it make together? All kinds of practical measurements. How long is the hallway? How tall are you? How tall are teachers? Kids were measuring us then.
And we, in science, we went outdoors to measure how fast the wind blows.
And how long walk is a walk of a kilometer, so that everybody understands that 1 kilometer is a long way in a hot weather also. So you get an experience. Hey, that was PE also there.
That's true.
By accident. You don't always know what you get when you start doing something. You just notice that when you combine subjects, there might come something new always on your way.
So the objectives come from curriculum. And what about the skills? Critical thinking skills, social skills, self-management skills, study skills. We promote those also.
Yeah, and they are big themes which are needed in everyday life. And nothing is as important as learn for real life.
I think it's important to emphasize that throughout, experience it in a very holistic way, then the understanding, the new knowledge will be built and connected to the previous experiences and pieces of knowledge.
Just like in social constructivism, you have to combine things that you have learned before so that you can create new reality, new truths, new ideas, and that's how you combine your understanding and learning. Learning is, as you know, combining different things, making new concepts out of them, and that's when you learn to combine things. Teachers cannot give you answers to everything. You have to learn to combine things. Teachers can give you ideas that, hey, think for yourself. I wait, give me an answer. If it's not right, maybe I will give you an idea that try this, try that, and I guide you to the correct path.
So it's more like supporting the learning process.
Yeah, I don't have to give correct answers. I don't always have them. Sometimes I tell child that, hey, take your cell phone, look for the answer from there. If you don't know how to use Google or some other application there, well, then I'll help you there. So sometimes you can use that kind of ideas.
Sometimes the topic might take sidetracks as well. Do you know that?
We've been there.
We've been there. But those sidetracks are as important. They are like tracks towards the goal, but they can enlarge our understanding about the processes the students are having. How many different ways you can experience, you can think of the topics we are dealing with. That's always so fascinating.
Yeah, and imagine we make a weekly plan that we send to parents where we write what we did last week or this week and what we're going to do next week so that the parents know that. And we never mark those side tracks there. They just come up, and next week we do our letter home. We might write there that this week we did this and that, and this also, that was not our plan. So those are pretty good things sometimes.
Yes, they are. But it requires from teacher that you are very sensitive in a moment and you are flexible. And you are ready to give space also to your students.
And also ready to be ready to admit that you can be also wrong sometimes. So when you are showing me that your way is better, I can give up and say, okay, yeah, let's do it that way. Next time maybe we'll do it my way, or I know something differently than you do. That is the richness in co-teaching. You can support your friend, pair, your team. Your team supports you and helps you when necessary. Remember the days when someone was absent from the team. We had made all the planning together already.
Right.
And you were absent, me and Katarina, who was working with us. We both knew what was going to happen, and then we had a plan B. We just divided the children into different type of groups, and we had already the plan, and it was a big help for us if there was no substitute.
And so one of the key benefits definitely is the shared planning, which gives us the common understanding. What is the timeline? What are the areas we are supposed to cover every single day? What about the thing that I think we should open up a little bit, the practical side? How did we work with the students? Or how do we work with the students? we combine our classes.
So you had 15 students, I had 15 students, that makes 30 altogether. We put the classes together, and that was quite a big bunch of students that time.
But usually we only gave like short instruction what is going to happen. It didn't always last 60 minutes.
No.
And then once the instruction was given, then we started to work.
Yeah, but we might have divided the big group so that you could have taken maybe 5 or 6 or 7 students that needed more support, and you gave them very special time with a very small group, and I would have taken a bigger group and implement the ideas with them a little bit differently. So that's one way of giving support to students who need it.
And related to this, it is the teacher's job to guarantee that every single student can reach their full potential while they are learning, while they are in school.
Yes. And remember how long it took to learn to design co-teaching. It was not an easy process. It was time-consuming in the beginning, and I think we were quite tired after first weeks when doing the co-teaching planning. But once we got it started and we learned the ideas, it didn't take really much time, and we started to know each other's ideas and thoughts. And once we knew the strengths of each other, it was a lot easier to divide the duties, responsibilities, and children also according to their skills and according to our skills. But it was not an easy process.
No, definitely.
We had no idle time in planning. We had no idle time either with the children. But I still think that we easily and really well focused on good learning, not so much on teaching, but giving kids time to learn and find answers on their own. And what I loved most, learning by doing. That was the big thing.
And then the result is the deep level of learning.
Joy of discovery, joy of learning. Yeah, well, in Through the Loop, the teachers were really interesting because they were so eager to learn about the ideas we talked.
And do you remember when we designed the week, we wanted to emphasize co-teaching, how to get started, how to implement it right away to the current conditions. And maybe the most important thing which was on my mind when we started to design the lessons was that we wanted to show that learning and the lesson is not dependent on equipment.
Not at all. Yeah. The idea was to get the social constructivism as a theory to function in real life. So make the theory
alive in classrooms.
Yeah. And I think we got it working pretty well.
According to what the feedback was from the teachers who were observing the lessons, they picked up so many skills that I don't even think that we were able to think while planning the lessons that would cover such various skill sets.
Yes, I think we managed to do more than what we tried actually. Many times those things happen. So like I said many times, that one teacher plus one teacher can be 3 teachers in co-teaching. So it's really empowering for teacher to notice when you start having the flow in co-teaching and things start to go easily. Then it's kind of paying back everything you have put into it.
We got a lot of feedback from the teachers, how we interact with the students and how they saw their students relaxed, enjoying what they were doing, and in a sense that they were really, really curious to learn more.
I think you go very close to the students, and when you are close to them and you talk to them with your peaceful voice, it is kind of sign to a student that you are focusing on her or him right now when you're talking. And so it is kind of empowering thing for the student to notice that, hey, the teacher is now really caring about me, focusing on what I do. He's interested. He likes what I do, and he's thinking of me. And that is a precious thing, so that everyone notices that you are paying attention. And that's very valuable if teacher is able to do that and willing to do it. You have to go down to the student's level somehow, but not to forget that you are the adult. And child's senses tell always that, hey, that is an adult, but talking to me with peace and quiet.
I think you said it really well when we were reflecting this week what we have experienced here, that the students and the teacher, they are like mirrors to each other. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Teachers reflect their ideas to students, and the students' reactions, they reflect to teachers how they have received what teachers giving them. They do not always tell you what I learned now, but they express themselves so that teacher gets a sense that, hey, now I see that you have learned it. Remember the students doing the work with the food chain? When you sent the students to my class, I was really astonished because the students knew already almost everything I was going through, because you had already started the process. And when I tried to teach, well, I didn't try, but I taught students with the different ways. I was using games and playing. They kind of got again into the subject and topic, and they got new knowledge and the methods I used. But what you did was something extraordinary. You combined biology and art. That was really interesting.
But I think since you noticed that they probably learned something more that you expected in that lesson, I know that you can adjust your teaching and thinking that, well, how you should expand the learning experience in your classroom when there are already like advanced knowledge. And that's part of the teacher's profession, that you adjust yourselves to changing situations, because you never know.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes there's the one student who is very interested or eager doing things, and it's good to know that you might give him or her some very special work so that they get up to their level of knowledge, so they don't have to wait and have idle time while others are struggling with some things. So you have to try to find solutions for that kind of situations too.
And I heard one of the teachers told me that you had really good idea how to give special tasks for some students who were probably needed probably more attention or more to do, while if they finish their task earlier than the others.
It's good to make them feel important and give some real special tasks. For example, go and be a mathematician during this lesson. Do something special, I tell you. Be, for example, like a bookmarker and listen carefully what you should book down and mark down, and do that as well as you can. So, because your job is now needed, you have to be very careful, and we know and trust you that you can do it. So give a child the trust, and they will try their best.
Very important.
Yeah, but remember, someone has said that our school is very, very different in a way that we never give children homework.
Oh yeah, that is a rumor which I think has been flying around the world quite a long time.
Did you give your students homework?
Yes.
Weird. Because I gave my students also homework. There's another fairy tale running around, I think. You know the one?
I think I can guess that there are no tests in Finnish school system.
Yeah, I've heard about that too.
Have you given them some tests?
I remember giving children history exams, Finnish exams, mathematics, biology, geography, science. Even PE we've had tests. Music. At least my students had exams. How about your students?
Yes, they have exams and they need to prepare. But I'm confident that while they have studied and learned in a multiple active learning by doing way, they succeed. They can implement, they can apply their knowledge.
And of course they need to read and get prepared for the exams.
Exactly.
And one interesting thing is also that I've heard rumors that there are no problems in Finnish schools and everything is so easy in every way. Do you agree?
I agree that there are these kind of rumors, but I don't think that that's the fully truth.
Okay, I have seen the social problems that occur in Finland, and their amount has been growing for a long, long time. And those social problems that appear at homes and in society, they seem to be multiplying in school, in children's behavior, and in many different kind of problems, while we are including many kinds of special needs children nowadays to our schools, to everyday classes.
And I've heard about that the immigration and the amount of students with various language backgrounds and backgrounds has also challenged the schools to rethink how to integrate the students.
If you think during the latest 5 years, the number of refugees from all over the world has really increased, really a lot. It has created in almost every school some problems how to survive with those children and their needs. And they might have some very severe needs that other ones do not have. They might have had some kind of problems in conflicts and wars. They have seen some horrendous things that we cannot even understand. And they carry that kind of problems with them, and they need to be solved too. And school is really struggling with many kinds of problems nowadays. Imagine, I had 5 different languages spoken in my classroom as a mother tongue.
Wow. So what kind of support they get?
We had a teacher who was teaching them their mother tongue. If we had 3 students speaking some language in school, it's mandatory to have a teacher who teaches them their mother tongue, because it is really important that a child has communication and skills of his own mother tongue with parents and family, because the mother tongue is the language of their heart. That is the one thing that you must know really well. Imagine if you didn't have your mother tongue so well that you could discuss with your parents fluently, and they wouldn't understand you and you wouldn't understand them. Hey, what would life be about?
The mother tongue is it's a language for expressing your emotions. So life would really be different.
And it's also a requirement for learning other things too, because if you do not have language to think properly, you cannot learn other things properly either. So you become half-tongued.
Very true.
So I think we have our share of problems in our schools too. Teachers are struggling in their everyday life too.
And I think that once we have, as a nation, Finland has achieved the top place as a education, the country which provides quality education. We still need to look to the future and to the future skills. We cannot just be proud what we are now and let things run like they have run. What do you think about the future? What kind of skills we should promote?
Art.
Creativity.
Caring.
Thinking.
Emotions.
Very true. So those skills which cannot be replaced by machines, right?
Right. Even though ICT is a very, very important skill, but you cannot rely on that too much. It does not provide you everything.
It's a good addition, and it's today's world is digital and technology orientated. But how do you think that the digitalization and the school, how do they match?
They match pretty well if you know how to use the gadgets. But if you do not have the basic skills without the gadgets, how do you think that you can survive or use the gadgets so that they will benefit learning? No way. So first the basic skills, and then add the gadgets. Then things start to function with ICT.
It's a very good statement. And I think that teachers also have a challenge to pick up those e-learning materials, for example, which are steered by quality pedagogy.
But you know what? In Ukraine, in Through the Loop, we have experienced an incredible week with incredible teachers, talented people who are really enthusiastic, and they seem to love their work, and they want, and they love, and they are willing to make a change that is beneficial for their children. And they are getting there to understand the idea that school is about learning, good learning.
These are very, very good last words, I think. And I hope our audience or the listeners who have listened and watched us get a little bit of idea. What was that week about?
With Lumo Education.
With Lumo Education. Thank you, Esa, for sharing your week with me.
Thank you, Kaisu. We had such a good time with Trudalu and EdCamp Ukraine. Right.
Yes.
Thank you.